to my YouTube channel. My name's Nadia, and in this channel I like to talk about books, journaling and writing. So I thought it was kind of fitting that I tried the YouTube newbie tag so that you could get to know me a little bit better. And I haven't really looked too deep into these questions, so I will say that I was looking at these questions and I was pulling out a few books so that I could show you when I was answering them, and the stack just got too big. So we're gonna try our best. Okay. So got iPad here, so let's give it a go. Why did you start this channel? This is a really difficult question for me to answer. So I started this YouTube channel way back when I did the Cottage podcast, which I believe was 2017, 2018. And that was an audio podcast and it did really, really well. And YouTube, I just always found YouTube really intimidating. It's an intimidating channel, right? Because it's your face and you have to put yourself in front of the camera all the time. And with an audio podcast, I got really sick of the sound of my voice. And also with YouTube, you have to edit your face quite a lot. So it always really put me off having a vlog, and it's just an intimidating platform. So I kind of let this channel just sit and just have the audio podcast coming up here. And then I started this channel in its form that it is now, which is about journals, NaNoWriMo, and creative writing, and books. And there is one book that is the reason why I'm here. And it is this one. And it is The Boy, the Mole, the Fox, and the Horse. And if someone could pluck a book out of my brain and put it into the world, it is this one. And it is a combination of, it's me in a book. This person created a book of art, and writing is an art, but it's all of these art forms. It's music, it's illustration, it's inking and drawings. There's oil and oil works in here, there's color work in here, and it is this beautiful freeing story of the boy and the wild. And this book made me want to talk about books in a way that I haven't in such a long time. And the creator of this book, the writer of this book, Charlie McKeesey, he wanted to write a book that was outside of demographics. He wanted to write a book for everyone, and that is a really hard thing to do. And this book is amazing. So the reason why I started is this book and NaNoWriMo. So NaNoWriMo is National Novel Writing Month. November, we've got a support system in place. This year, it's just not possible. And if you want to know more about that, you can check out this video. But NaNoWriMo is something that I love doing every year. I love creative writing, and I wanted to vlog about it this year. I wanted to vlog about the map making, the plots, where it got really difficult for me, because as writers we all tend to write alone, and it can be really isolating, and you can live in your head a lot. And I think that writers also read books differently, and I am a hobbyist, as in I write creatively to have fun. I don't do it to be a professional writer because I'm not quite sure that's in me, but I love storytelling. I do write for a living, but in the world of marketing, not in the world of creative writing, unfortunately. And it has a piece of my heart. So another reason why I'm here is because of the people in my Instagram DMs. Meg, Sarah, Kira, Meg, Sarah, Kira. There's so many of you who over the last 6 months, when I talked about books, you brought such a smile to my face. And there was a particular book called The Witch Collector that I really want to get into, but I can't just right now. There's so many there's so many conversations in my DMs that I really wanted to expand on and couldn't, and because it wasn't the right space for it to be in. I didn't realize how many of my followers also really love books in the way that I love books, and I wanted to have more in-depth conversations about them. So that's why I'm here. And it was probably the longest answer that you have seen in the Booktubers. Okay. Question 2. What are some fun and unique things that you can bring to YouTube? I don't just do one thing. I don't do one thing. As I said in the first question, I like to talk about writing, books, and journaling. And they're my 3 loves. I don't read books like other people. This has become very clear. I have very few friends that I can talk to books about in the way that I want to talk about books. I get really nerdy about opening imagery and closing scene and whether or not they're mirrored. Because they should be, right? I nerd out about opening sentences. The writing in Addie LaRue, the way that it moves through the book, the way that it changes through the book. I mean, V.E. Schwab, that book, I know it was her heart book and she talked about it a lot, but that book is a masterpiece. It is up there with American Gods for me, which I held as this book for such a long time. So fun and unique things. I'm probably gonna have a different point of view than a lot of people. I don't read books in the way that a lot of people do, and no one has my personality, right? And if we're gonna talk about opening sentences, or we're gonna talk about books that win at that, and I know that everyone's got their favorite, right? The first 2 sentences of Red Rising convinced me to purchase not only the trilogy, but the next 2 books in Still Wait. I still have 1 book in the trilogy was not out yet. But Pierce Brown's I Would Have Lived in Peace, But My Enemies Brought Me War. Yeah. Also, The Pacing in Golden Sun. This is a book I read in one sitting. My husband had to drive the car. We were taking the kids out, and I read this book in the passenger seat and almost caused a car crash because I gasped during a few of these scenes. Yeah, can talk about those books for a while. And if you haven't, if you have read these books and you for some reason missed the I'm going to call it a podcast, but the recording with V.E. Schwab and Pierce Brown that they did during, was it 2020, 2021, when Addie LaRue was doing its rounds. If you haven't seen it, watch it. It's amazing. Okay. What are you most, question 3, let's speed through these. Question 3, what are you most excited about for your channel? For the conversations that we could have, I really think that, I'm really excited to talk about books, journals, and creative writing in a way that I haven't been able to. I'm going to say there is one friend who really gets me, hi Kira, who really understands books in the way that I do and will read them and approach them in the way that I do, and we can talk about books all night. Bottle of wine, books, done, happiest. So I'm really excited about the conversations, and also I think that it's really good to talk about books so that you can find a book that you would have overlooked on the shelf, right? You all say that we don't judge a book by its cover. Totally do. I picked up this book completely for this. I have the entire Lord of the Rings illustrated by Alan Lee, in my glass bookcase that no one's allowed in. I completely do. And let me just, Fairy Tales, the Grimm's Fairy Tales. Ha. Why do you love reading? I feel like we've covered this already, but reading is escapism, right? You are dealing with things that you want to get away from, or you just want your brain to stop thinking, and you can just open a book and be anywhere in any world. And if you can't find that in a book, you can sit down and you can write your own. Who would not want that? Like, I want to be in Paris today. Okay, I'm gonna go pick up a book. Grim Lovelies, by the way. I want to visit Middle Earth. Okay, we can do that. A book that sparked so many conversations about universes for me. Scythe, brilliant. The Thunderhead in this, really good. That's why I love reading. The conversations that you can have, the escapism to anywhere. There's nothing quite like a book. Also, comfort. It's just pure comfort, right? Question 5. What book series got you into reading? Hilariously funny. Hilariously funny. There is no one book series because I started reading when I was very young. I think it's how my parents and family dealt with me. They were like, Nadia, go sit down and read and be quiet. So I started reading Enid Blyton because that's what my sisters had lying around the place. I'm an 80s kid, you can do that math yourself. There is no one book. I think if you were to ask me that in a generational thing, as in what book series got you into reading in my teens, I would say the Geomancer series by Ian Irvine. If you said, also Stephen King, there was a lot of Stephen King then too. If you said what got you back into reading during college, I don't know. I will say that different books broke my dry reading spells. Like every now and again you go through a dry spell, and ACOTAR broke. I consumed that book series, I think, in a week. I think I read a book a day. So many people joined me in YouTube for that, or yeah, Instagram for that one. There's a lot of books that broke, so I feel like I didn't really answer that question, but for me, there isn't really one book series, and if I was to start naming all the series, I would still be here hours from now. So question 6. What questions would you ask your favorite booktubers? I would really like to know, and if there are other booktubers who manage to come across this video, I would really love to know if running your channel has ruined reading for you. Are you choosing books that you know are going to trend your videos well versus books that you really want to read? Are you reading outside of your niche? Has it expanded your reading, your genres that you would choose to read? Is there a book that your followers made you read that you are shocked that you really enjoyed? I think everyone who deals with social media will ask, when it got really hard, other than your followers, what made you keep going? So it's a lot of questions, right? So if you are a booktuber and you want to answer any of them, pop down below. 7. What challenges will be the hardest with Booktube? Recording is going to be the hardest. Staying on top of conversations that are heated, I find that really difficult, which happens with books, right? Um, I would say the consistency of talking about book reviews and the consistency of recording them, because I don't ever want to feel like I have to finish a book. I love reading so much, and I would get really upset if Booktube managed to ruin that for me. And it's my one apprehension about, you know, book hauls and talking about my bookshelves and that kind of thing. Also, I am a huge, I live in a cottage, so a lot of I'm also incredibly, okay, so I live in a cottage, I'm really impatient, and I have grown to have more digital editions than physical editions of books. Um, so yeah, I'm really worried about my reading getting ruined, but I also think that there's such joy and passion in this community, and it makes me smile so much that I really don't think that will happen, but it's something I'm really worried about. When did you start reading? Really young. Really young, and I think I would have to ask my sister. I never, like, so when I was really young, I collected all of the Enid Blyton series that they came out in like a limited edition. They had like the Naughtiest Girl series, and they were really aimed at children from the ages of 5 to 8, and I had the whole collection, and I kept it at home. and I went home to get it when my parents had passed away, and we were boxing up the house, and they had given my books away, and I was really upset, and I cried so hard because no one in my family really understood reading, apart from one sister. Just wouldn't understand my connection with books and what that would have meant. But I had like this china cabinet that like the doors would slide. There were glass doors and they would slide, and I had put all of these books in there, and I collected the whole series. They used to come out in our, I think it was like Dunn Stores used to have that in their section when I was a kid, so we would go and we would pick it up. So I have loved and collected books since I was very, very young. Even on our holidays, I would pack my books before I would pack my clothes. And yeah, it's always, I don't remember not having a book or reading. Where do you read? Anywhere I can find the time. I have this reading nook. Actually, this is a nook in the morning that I use. It's like 110 centimeters across, and my husband built a bench here that I can curl up, because I can put my feet against this wall and I can position the cushions against this wall, and I will sit here in the morning and have coffee, and I will read before anybody gets up out of bed, before I have to be a mommy, and then before I have to go to work. And in the evening I will grab a blanket, and I have like a reading soundtrack, which I thought I was kind of crazy to have, but then I realized that Booktube, that's actually a thing. So yeah, I will grab a blanket, grab my book, and hope that my husband has to work overtime so that I can read my book. And he's gotten to a point now where I'm like, oh, would you like to watch insert whatever TV series he wants to watch that I don't currently, which isn't a lot. We overlap in quite a lot of TV series, but I will say, do you want to watch this? I'm feeling really tired, and then I'll like pretend to be really tired, and then I will go to bed with my book and I will read it. Let's hope he doesn't watch this video, which he shouldn't. Which brings me to my last question. What kinds of books do you read? I read a lot of fantasy. I read a lot of YA. I read a lot of adult fantasy, YA. I will read a lot of YA because I find that writing really interesting, and then especially the kind of, near, like I remember reading Nevernight by Christoph, and I was like, is this YA? And then, because murderous heroine, come on. And then I remember also then picking up Empire with the Vampire and going, okay. So I really enjoy YA and adult fantasy. I also love reading poetry. By the way, if you have not read Edge of Wonder by Victoria Erickson and you think, please do. Just, Google Victoria Erickson and Edge of Wonder, and I will leave a link down here to her Instagram page, because her writing is just empowering. It's beautiful, and poetry can sometimes have bad connotations around it. Connotation is the right word. When you think of poetry, I have these like horrid flashbacks to school where we did soundings where we focused on Irish poets who are amazing. These poems are amazing, but when they have been taught in a way where I think for you to really love poetry, having a teacher that loves poetry, it's so much easier to fall in love with it. And I didn't until I was older and I was in college, and the writing community on Instagram is amazing. And Victoria Erickson she makes you feel all the feelings all at once in one poem. And Edge of Wonder has these beautiful snapshots. And I hope it's kind of everything. This video is so much longer than I thought it would be, but I can talk about books for a very long time. If you think that this channel is for you and you're still here at the end, hit subscribe, follow along. If you think there are books that I should read, pop them in the comments below. If you think there are booktubers that I should follow, pop them below. By the way, I don't think I mentioned who my favorite booktubers are, and Fictional Fates Joel is just amazing. He's so much fun. And I believe that he also just won a Blowing Award, so congratulations to him. It's a very hard thing to do. Also Christy Ann Jones, and I say booktuber. She talks about books, she talks about writing a lot, she vlogs about her writing projects. Her channel is such a cozy place to be. Probably not one, is she really famous on Booktube? I don't know. She does, both of those people do have really big followings, and they're lovely. Joel has made me laugh at times when I didn't feel like laughing, and I love his views. I love his Notion blog. There is so much that I could talk about Notion right now, but I'm not gonna. And Christy, when she talks about writing, I feel seen, and it's sometimes when you are writing and you are in your own head and you're alone, you think that you're the only person who's dealing with this particular problem in writing, and that's never true. And she vlogs about it so eloquently, and she loves books and she loves writing in a way that can only make you feel joy. So those two definitely have made an impact for me. I am currently reading The Ember Quartet by Saba Tahir, and I love it for so many reasons. I mean, all books are about plot, character, but when they're done well, you really engage with the story, don't you? I am currently reading that, and I hit a reading slump because of work that came across my desk, and there was summer holidays, which always kind of throws me off. We took them really late, so I haven't managed to get back into the rhythm of finishing it. So I really would love to do that, because I also have Babel and the Atlas Six that I really want to read, and I am at that point where I know that if I leave the Reaper at the gates, I am not going to come back to it. And I feel like this series has this like epic conclusion coming. You can feel it building, and I feel like I need to give it time that it deserves. So I don't know if I need to come out of the book and read another book before I go back to that one. So is that what you do when you're in, like, when you break momentum in a trilogy? Do you read another book to get over that, or do you plow on and get yourself back into like a reading schedule? And if you do that, do you not love the book anymore, or do you feel like you love the series less? I mean, see, there are so many conversations to be had. Thank you for joining me today, and hopefully I will see you soon.